From Ty Borden's unexpected death in Season 14, to Season 4's crossroad where Jack literally left Ty behind, these are Heartland's most shocking moments. It's been on TV since 2007, and yet it's one of Canada's most enduring scripted TV shows. It's given fans a ton of heartbreak, a lot of beautiful proposals, and a bunch of unexpected twists. I can't think of a twist better than the Season 4 premiere, Keep Me in Your Heart. If a show can keep you on your toes after 14 long seasons, then you know it's doing something right. But this time, fans were in for a major cry fest. In the Season 13 finale, Ty suffered a gunshot wound and then made a quick recovery. It didn't feel like a big deal then, so the fans weren't too worried. But then, Season 14's first episode changed everything. Ty suddenly collapsed and died, leaving fans shocked and upset. It turned out that he had a blood clot due to some complications with his gunshot wound. No one expected it to turn out this way. Why would Heartland kill off a fan favorite character who's been with the show since Season 1? And why would they do it so unexpectedly? Well, Amber Marshall, who plays Amy, said that his death was important because it reflects real-life situations. He has goals to accomplish, and he was happily married to Amy. But nothing in life ever works out the way people expect it to, does it? So this helped keep the show grounded and raw. On the other hand, there was really no other way to handle the character, since Wardle wanted to leave the show. In fact, he'd been wanting to leave for a long time. 2 years to be exact. Heartland's storylines are written well ahead of time so that the showrunners can develop characters, make sure the plot moves organically, and also sprinkle in foreshadowing for those shocks and twists. So 2 years before Season 14 aired, Wardle told them that it was time for him to move on. He had a bunch of his own projects lined up, and he was bouncing around between them all the time. Oh, and Amber knew about this too, of course. She said he spoke to her openly about his decision to move on. The next thing they needed to do was to honor the character in a very meaningful way. Wardle had spent 13 years playing the character, and it was almost impossible to differentiate the character from the actor. So they decided on shooting and killing him the way every TV series has done since the dawn of time. Hey, if it works, right? The fans were totally devastated though. One person said that he never expected the show to pull a move like that, and that they cried a lot when it happened. Another fan said that Ty's death was the last straw for them, and that after the show killed him off, they lost interest and stopped watching. That's a risk the showrunners were prepared to take though, since nothing would have convinced Wardle to stay on for a few more seasons, but he isn't the only person who left Heartland to pursue other projects. Remember Mallory Wells, played by Jessica Amelie? She joined the series when she was 13 years old, and the audience watched her grow up to be a confident and talented young actor. But just like Wardle, she wanted to move on to greener pastures. In the series, Mallory falls in love with Jake Anderson, and decides that she wants to move beyond the little town they all live in. So she decides to move to Paris with Jake, and they live happily ever after. It's a simple and sweet way to write off a character rather than killing them off screen, or having them die because of a blood clot. And a lot of fans were happy about this. Take a peek into one of a dozen Reddit threads about Mallory, and you'll know that they weren't happy with her. Fans found her annoying, selfish, and arrogant, and they hated how she had bullied Georgie. Granted, she's a kid, and kids can be like that. But one user pointed out that that wasn't the issue. It's the way she was written that made her unbearable. Either way, Jessica's decision wasn't affected by any of the comments on her character. She said that she wanted to expand her horizons after playing the same character for 7 seasons. She needed more challenges, and that's why she asked to be written out of the show in a meaningful way. The same as Ty. Anyway, actors may join or leave a show, but there are moments that stick with you forever, like the one in Season 11, Episode 2. It was a blast from Georgie's past, and no one was expecting things to go down so badly. Everyone knows that before she came to Heartland, she lived at a foster home. A drunk driver killed both their parents when she was really young, and that's about as much backstory as we needed to understand her and like her. But then, Episode 2 got under her skin, and made her confront the drunk driver for what he did all those years ago. There was a lot of drama there, but let's start from the beginning. Georgie tells Jade that she's found the guy who killed her parents, and later she tells Jade that she's going to visit him so she can see him with his own eyes. Yeah, in retrospect, I think that was a bad call. But she goes to see him anyway, and Jade goes with her because she won't let her best friend do something potentially dangerous on her own. It was supposed to be a casual visit where Georgie sees the man with her own 2 eyes, and confronts him for his actions. That's what the fans were expecting. But the entire situation went sideways, and she and Jade had to make a run for it. And while running, she ended up damaging the man's property. The worst part is, she didn't even tell him who she is or what he did to her parents. So this opened the door to him filing an official complaint against her. A deputy came knocking at the Bartlett Ranch's door the next morning and told him what was going on. And that's when George finally told everyone the truth about who the man Charles Thackeray really is. This was a really shocking development for fans, because no one was expecting Georgie to do something like this. Someone said that this was the stupidest move she could have pulled under the circumstances, while another person disagreed, and said that it's totally understandable for someone in her position to react the way she did. But all this was followed by a really wholesome moment where Jack called Peter, and he flew out to help her deal with the whole situation. He even went to talk to Thackeray and told him exactly who she is, and that he should drop the complaint against her. Good guy, Peter! There are plenty of other wholesome moments in all 16 seasons of Heartland, but there's one that's also shocking and totally unexpected. And that came in Season 6 when Caleb kissed Lou. I know, people saw it coming a mile away, because they'd been flirting casually for ages. Their relationship's been through a ton of ups and downs, but that kiss changed everything. That's why it was so shocking, because everyone knew that things had changed. But this decision sparked a little controversy among the fans, and not in the way you'd think. A lot of them didn't think that Lou should end up with Caleb, and there are a bunch of reasons for that. Some said that their chemistry didn't match and that they were incompatible with each other. And some say they'd rather ship Lou with Peter and Caleb with Ashley. But there were a lot of people who loved that Caleb had finally addressed the elephant in the room and gave Lou something to think about while he was on the road. But enough wholesome moments for one video. Let's dive into something more serious. The one moment that fans keep coming back to was Jack and Ty's road trip in Season 4. It doesn't have the kind of shock value that his death had in Season 14, but it's the kind of shocking that builds up and leaves you with your jaw on the floor. By Season 4, fans knew that Jack really cared about Ty and wanted to see him achieve his full potential. But then he found that Ty had been skipping classes and didn't show up to help Scott. So instead of telling him off, he says they're going on a road trip. And once they get to a literal crossroads where one road leads back to the ranch and the other to the highway, Jack makes Ty an offer that could change his life. He tells him that he can take the highway, move on, and start a new life. Or he can come back and do what he's meant to do. After that, Jack simply drove off and left Ty alone to think about his decision. It's a very meaningful moment at a literal crossroads that changed the trajectory of his life forever. And fans love it for exactly that reason. So, from Season 4's crossroad where Jack left Ty behind, to Ty Borden's unexpected death in Season 14. Those were the most shocking moments from Heartland.